Hey Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again, and we have a massive episode for you this week. We have so much to talk about as we enter Week 13. And the big thing we're going to talk about today is you are not going to believe how many 25 and under wide receivers are top 24, which are wide receiver 2 or better fantasy options right now for your Dynasty teams.
And we're also going to talk about where Christian McCaffrey lands in our rankings.
And we'll get a nice debate about Najee Harris during this episode.
Number 1!
Ready, set, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garrett Price.
How's it going?
It's going good. We're entering Week 12. Yeah. Kind of the home stretch here. A couple more weeks till the
Playoffs.
Playoffs. Are you making the playoffs out there? Have you been listening? Have you been working? Have you been making trades? Have you battled the war of attrition? Are you staying healthy? Are you getting after
Rich, why have you switched it now?
Because
It's definitely nutrition.
I can learn.
I think it's week 13 as well coming up here, isn't it?
It is.
No, not week 12.
Okay.
We finished week 12.
Yeah, we're through week
Finished
12.
We're entering Week 13. Which
I didn't want to confuse people.
13 and 14. We have 2 more weeks
Yeah.
to the playoffs. With all these injuries, everybody still have a chance. We're going to talk about those injuries. We're going to talk about them right now. But before we do, let's have a word from our friends at Thrive Fantasy. Now, listen, I know you guys have probably been hearing me talk about Thrive Fantasy now for the last month or so. And you're like, hey, yeah, it's just another ad out there. What's that got to do with me? Well, it's got a lot to do with you. If you want to win some money and you're good at fantasy football props, I'm terrible at these things. I keep trying. I'm just terrible.
You're like, this is going to be fun.
So come take Rich's money.
So come take my money. I mean, they're going to give you 100% instant deposit with the promo code NERDS. And again, what it is you literally just get 20 player props. You either choose 10 out of those 20 player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on how likely it is to hit. Hit the most props, rack up the most points. You win a share of that prize pool. Kind of like all these other DFS.
You keep taking the over on Baker Mayfield, don't you?
Oh, no. I stay far away from that. I stay far away from Baker. And honestly, I don't even want to talk about the Browns. I'm disgusted. I've never been so heartbroken and downtrodden about a football team my entire life. So I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, Thrive I do want to talk about because if you're better than me, don't even have to be better than me. You just... Well, you do if you do. Money.
Yeah.
But
If you want to win.
It doesn't take much to be better than me. Let me put that, because I don't know how I'm consistently wrong in these things. But right now, you get on Thrive Fantasy, check them out on the App Store, the Play Store. Go to their website, thrivefantasy.com. Use that promo code NERDS. They'll give you 100% instant deposit. They have all kinds of giveaways every time you sign up, too. It's just a good, different way to get out there and actually use your knowledge of fantasy football. Because everything we usually promote, it's about, hey, what can you use, unless it's Manscaped, what can you use that all this knowledge we talk about on a week in, week out basis? Because when you play Dynasty, you're way more into football than anybody else. Because it's 365 for you, and you study every aspect of it. So use that advantage. Get on Thrive Fantasy. Make some money today. Promo code NERDS.
Injuries.
Let's get into the injuries.
Jared was so excited over there.
I was waiting.
I was turned around, so I didn't see him come into the mic.
He was like waiting for a while just to get, like, because you never fully know when Rich is done.
Right.
So he was waiting for a while. He was really excited.
That is true. Yeah.
He thought it was Santa Claus behind him. December 1st out here. He's like, ho, ho, ho's. Surrounded by him.
Never know when Rich is going to take that last sentence and repackage it and say it again.
Yep, you never know. I'm a habitual repackager. Look at me. So, injury news. Biggest news, obviously, of the week is Christian McCaffrey. Ankle injury. Obviously, it's going to be pretty bad because he's out for the year. His second IR stint of the year. Talking about guy signed that contract, big contract, and then ever since then, he hasn't really played football.
It's 10 games in the past 2 years, right?
That he's played?
Yeah, 3 last year. I think 7 this year.
Yeah,
And even all of those games, like only like 7 of those 10 games are actually full games.
Yeah, full games.
Yeah, honestly. So, with Christian McCaffrey, the consensus for the last couple of years, 1-1 in a Dynasty startup at the running back. Jonathan Taylor's overtaken that spot there. What are you guys doing, Christian McCaffrey? What are you giving an eyebrow look when I said Jonathan Taylor's overtaken that spot?
I heard the sound effect. I wasn't quite sure where it came from. It was a sneaky sound effect.
The computer.
The computer.
Rich has iMessage on his Macbook. I don't know. How to
Somebody's
shut it off.
texting you now.
It's his wife.
Oh, somebody's texting. Oh
gosh.
What?
Better answer
Watch
that.
out.
Got me.
Better answer that.
Damn kids.
But Christian McCaffrey, the interesting thing, I've been seeing a lot of debate on Twitter like the past week or so, how we should be ranking Christian McCaffrey moving forward. Because one, he is an incredibly talented player. When he's on the field, when he's playing, he's putting up high teens, low 20s, sometimes even into the 30s of fantasy points, which is just absolutely game-wrecking. But on the opposite end, you need him to be on the field to get those points.
I finally broke. I had him. I was keeping him at the 1-1.
We had that debate like 3 weeks ago or so.
Yeah, I finally broke with the injury, obviously, and the IR status, that he is just a little bit too unreliable. Obviously, we just broke it down 10 games in the past 2 years that I bumped him down, I think, to 4 or 5 or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think Saquon has re-jumped him in my ranks. We'll put it that way.
Saquon has, I'm assuming other players have, like Jonathan Taylor.
Yep. I can't remember who else other than him.
Austin Eckler, possibly. Joe Mixon. Obviously not DeAndre Swift is out there.
I think DeAndre Swift is another guy that's ahead of him in my ranks. Yeah.
Which is crazy. I don't know if I wouldn't move all those guys ahead of Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's still, even this year, banged up, is averaging 18.2 points per game, which is pretty fantastic. Not on Austin Eckler's level, not on Joe Mixon's level. Joe Mixon's having a monster year, currently running back number 3 on the year.
My boy.
But when it comes to me, I don't have to worry about this because I am not looking to really take, unless it's honestly Jonathan Taylor, like I'm not even looking to take a running back in the first round. And
this is assuming Superflex, right? Or are you also including 1 QB?
100% I'm not taking a running back in there. Superflex, it's always a quarterback usually in the first round for me. Like I just need them. Definitely we're going to talk about some quarterback situations here later. So I need that quarterback. And even in a 1 QB league, like I prefer, like I had a number 2 pick this year going into the year and I just felt really good about him, Saquon. And I didn't like it. I want to take Jonathan Taylor and I took Saquon number 2. When it was over, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. And I remember I was texting you guys, like, I should just take Justin Jefferson too. Like,
I remember that was who you were really debating.
Yeah, and I was like, I know it's a reach here at 2, but I have the 2 pick and I want Justin Jefferson. And now I wish I would have taken him over Saquon. And obviously I could have taken Jonathan Taylor, but it's like,
you would have been happy. But
anytime I take a running back that early, there's always regret because they always get hurt. Their shelf life's so much shorter. Now, obviously, if I take Jonathan Taylor, like I'm doing, look at me.
Yeah, I'm so smart.
You know what I mean? I'm so smart. But again, it's just a gamble. Jonathan Taylor could tear his Achilles tomorrow. I won't put that bad mojo on him, but like he could.
Please don't say that.
You just did. What do you mean?
I mean, every running back is getting hurt. He's like the last one left.
Hey, Jared, edit that out where it says Jonathan Taylor could tear the turkey bone wishbone apart. Make a wish for all the children. Yeah, so so to me, like I'm not worried about taking Christian McCaffrey because the same Christian McCaffrey falls to the late first or like 2-1, 2-2. Like I'm not even looking at him until like right around there. Like if I had say I'd pick 111, he's there at 2-2. Like, oh, Christian McCaffrey at 2-2, that's pretty good value. I'll take 2 good young receivers on the way back, right around there. But I don't think I'll take Christian McCaffrey in a first round. But that being said, I think Jonathan Taylor is literally the only running back I would take in the first round of a startup. That's it.
I think he is. He's on an island by himself, partly because of how fantastic he's been, but also because of age. A lot of the other running backs in that range are all 25, 26 plus.
Or been injured.
Or been seriously injured, yeah. So I think he really does just stand in a tier by himself, and then it's everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, even Joe Mixon's 25. You know, if you're looking for those young guys, it's DeAndre Swift, who's 22. You're looking at Jonathan Taylor, who's a little bit older. Najee Harris falls in that mold as well. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. When it just happens all the time. Once you hit that injury bug, we talk about it in this show.
We talk about it so much. The turnover at that position is just, no other position is anything like the running back.
Close.
Yep, it's not even close. They just turn over so quickly.
It's why I play Dynasty that way. If you get the second contract or you had those multiple years, even if you're in your prime at like 26, 27, I try to sell not at 27, it's too late, but when you get 26 as a running back 1 and you're a running back 1, so like say Joe Mixon going next year, to me that's a hard sell. If you get 2 to 3 more years on him, kudos to you, but I'm going to get so much more. And I love playing Dynasty and just always selling my running backs and just constantly filtering them in and buying guys like Elijah Mitchell. Even he has long-term presence or he doesn't. Or usually I would draft Elijah Mitchell. Sure. That'd be my category because I love to draft all those running backs where I can because eventually they're all going to play for the most part. Like if you get a guy who goes in a good situation, he's going to play at some point. Nobody stays healthy at running back all year long. So it's weary when you do these startups and you have these guys in the first round, you take them, it's like, there's so much, and when you lose your first round pick in a Dynasty startup, it's such a setback.
The good thing about those running backs you're talking about, the Elijah Mitchells, they're either going to play or they're never going to play and they're so easy to get off your team. It's not somebody that's just hanging around on your roster like this hanging Chad that you can't get rid of. They're either a late round hit or they're just not going to play. So you can cut them after their taxi squad eligibility is up, which also makes that a nice, I think, in my opinion, a nice way to manage your roster anyway.
So let me flip the script here.
Okay.
Is this a good time to buy Christian McCaffrey? Because there's going to be a lot of people that are frustrated, like you said you were. He's only 25 years old. He dominates in the passing game. That's where his bread and butter is. So that's where you want those guys. He's more likely going to stay healthy if that is the case. Carolina's offensive line, not good this year. Last week,
any year.
Last year they were horrendous. Last week they were absolutely horrendous. We saw Cam Newton give me negative 11 points in Scott Fishbowl. Thanks, Cam. Appreciate that.
He got you negative 11 points?
Yeah, still came with 169 points though. That's how good my team is.
Yeah, see what 5 completions or something?
Yeah, and a lot of interceptions and stuff like that. Yeah, not good. Negative 11. Thanks, Cam. Big win.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Do you think this is a window to buy Christian McCaffrey? I saw somebody trade Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry for Austin Eckler.
I saw that on Twitter today.
Scott Fish tweeted out. Yeah, both of them are for a win now because they were trying to win.
Wow. That's a hefty price.
That's a mighty hefty price. I don't care how bad I want to win a ship. Like, listen, I say do everything you can to win a ship, but don't sell your soul.
Wow. That is, that's a bit much.
Yeah, buy Elijah Mitchell for way less.
Yeah.
Brutal.
I mean, obviously Christian McCaffrey has all the potential to come right back and be that asset that he was. He's just got to stay healthy. Who knows if he's going to. So if you're going to get him at some sort of a discount, I don't see why that would be a bad buy.
Let me throw a couple offers out here and see what you guys think of them. If you're in a Dynasty League and you don't have, like, you're trying, maybe you have one of these guys in your roster you can't win now and you're just trying to get McCaffrey for next year.
I do have some actual trades that have happened over the past couple of days if you're interested too.
I'm more interested in those.
Okay.
But I'll give you, I have a couple guys I'd like to ask you.
All right, go ahead.
No,
you want me to go first? Oh, I'm just not used to that.
I loved the dead air.
All right, Christian McCaffrey and a 2023 third for Leonard Fournette and Dawson Knox.
So you had to throw a third on top for
Uncle Lenny.
I'll give you Christian
Dawson
McCaffrey for Uncle Lenny and Dawson Knox. Oh, I'm going to need a third for that too.
third on top.
Give me that sweetener.
Yeah, I would take Christian McCaffrey.
I would take the Christian McCaffrey side.
What if you're this close to a ship and you just need that running
And
back?
Leonard Fournette looks damn good. Currently running back 5 on a year in PPR leagues, dominating the passing game. I don't see how he leaves Tampa Bay.
Still can't do it though?
Listen, if I had to win a ship, and that's the best I can get, and Leonard Fournette's 1 year older, and I'm getting Dawson Knox, who's an up-and-coming tight end as well, I can live with it, but I prefer Christian McCaffrey. But if I needed a running back to win, I could live with that trade. I don't like it, but I can live with it.
The visual, or I guess the feel of adding a third round draft pick just feels so dirty and wrong to me.
Really, man.
But like we always say, like a third round pick, who gives a crap, really? So that I guess really doesn't move the needle at all for me.
I would be desperately trying to, obviously I'm sure he tried. I would be trying to get a different running back.
Sure. Well, the next one's a similar boat. David Montgomery in 2 seconds for Christian McCaffrey in that illustrious third.
Jeez, what is with these third rounders?
I'm telling you, dude, this is the time of year where you can get value, right? Like if you're not trying to win, like if you're not going to win,
right?
This is where you reap, right?
Cash in.
You go out there and you plow those fields because now it's time to sell those crops because you get such. I mean, listen, people are thirsty for these running backs. If you have Cordero Patterson right now, you're going to get their mortgage paper, you're going to get the deed to their house, you're going to get their third born son or daughter. Not their first or second.
Not their first or second.
He's not that
third.
good.
Yeah, that good.
Third.
It's not Jonathan Taylor.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's guys out here that hold value. Guys like James Conner. They hold, like a guy, like even a short-term guy, Myles Gaskin. You know, like Myles Gaskin.
James Conner has value right now.
That's what, I mean, James Conner's 14.
So, I don't love that. I don't love that either. But it makes my idea. I was going to come to you guys like, hey, if somebody approached you right now and they offered you Javonte Williams for your Christian
you know
McCaffrey.
How much we love him.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are now I sound like that's a no-brainer.
There are some that are a little more reasonable. Nick Chubb and Gronk for Christian McCaffrey. Saquon in a first for Christian McCaffrey.
I'd rather Saquon in the first.
Alexander Madison in 2 firsts for Christian McCaffrey.
Now we're talking like Alexander.
So
Madison,
there are some better
first.
ones, but I was highlighting how ugly some of these deals for the once untouchable Christian McCaffrey were. Ooh, this one's ugly. 23 first and Myles Gaskin.
Dude, I love when there's guys. When guys at one point during that season were untouchable. You know, A.J. Brown falls in this category from the beginning of the year, right? A.J. Brown, Christian McCaffrey. Guys are untouchable at the start of the year. Become touchable, right? Like all of a sudden they hit 18 and they're like, hey.
Rich.
That's gross. I said it right away. As
soon as that came out of your mouth.
I instantly regretted it.
We're too old for that joke.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. But yeah, being 42, it feels even dirtier. But you know, like once you become available, that you can actually get your hand.
Stop.
Just
don't hang me in my cell. I'm all warm.
I never.
Those are the kind of players that I want to get my hands on.
Gotta love it when players become touchable.
Thank you for opening yourself up to me. I wanted to obtain you for so long.
Oh my gosh.
But you cost so much.
Dalvin Cook is also going to be missing a few weeks with
Can I get my hands on him?
an injured shoulder, and he's a guy that is in a similar spot as Christian McCaffrey, once a top running back, getting a little bit older. They're both in the same class here. He's only supposed to be out 2 weeks.
At most 2 weeks, they said too.
But what happens if the Vikings lose those 2 games?
They're paying him so much money. He's coming back.
He's going to come back.
Yeah.
This is not his first shoulder injury, though.
This is not his first shoulder injury or a plethora of other injuries.
Correct. So I can't remember his time. Wasn't it just last season that he hurt his shoulder?
Yeah,
he's had 5. He's had 5 shoulder injuries.
5.
I saw a comparison. It's the same thing. They rested him 2 games for the playoffs. He came back and he just dominated. He absolutely dominated. So this is something he could play. It's not. I'm not worried about Dalvin Cook. But guys like that, like say Christian McCaffrey, like if you can obtain Christian McCaffrey right now out of a frustrated owner, or more importantly, somebody going for the ship, like you have to try. You have to dibble where they dabble. You know, this is it.
Yeah, and getting back to the Dalvin Cook thing, I mean, this is exactly why we made Alexander Madison a must buy earlier in the year when he was injured, is for this exact same scenario. So you can just keep that kind of keep yourself afloat for the next couple of games.
Yep. Yeah, so Dalvin Cook's going to be out for a little bit. He's going to, obviously he makes Alexander Madison a running back 1 here potential.
Sure.
Deebo Samuel with the groin sprain.
Samuel with the groin strain. Can we at least acknowledge the fact that here he is missing a couple of games?
It's 1 to 2 games. It's
which
not
is
serious.
exactly why I cannot have him as high as you guys were talking
Top
a few
6.
weeks.
Juice is worth the squeeze. What do you have, A.J. Brown? He's there just as much as Deebo. He doesn't play running back.
He doesn't play running back, thankfully, because then he'd be even more injured.
Did he hurt on the run play? Is that what he hurt at?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't remember.
Because he was running and he just stopped. And he got the field. I think it was a running play because he was running and then he kind of stopped.
He's had like 16 carries over the past 2 weeks.
I literally jumped on my couch.
really
my wife was
effective.
I'm like, Deebo, no.
Looks like a great running back.
He looks like a great running back.
Yeah.
Dude, he's good.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's such a dynamic. And which sucks because I have Scott Fishbowl, so like I need him to come back. Like,
come back.
It's perfect. We missed his 2 weeks because I'll win this week, or if it doesn't matter, I got a first round bye. So then when he comes back, I'm ready to play my playoff game.
Ready to go.
I can't win without him. DeAndre Swift sprained his shoulder. He's week to week. Zeke Elliott, knee injury, but it looks like he's going to be a full go. They actually came out today and were saying they're going to give him a heavy workload. So
that was a weird series of events, right? Because they were saying they might taper it back. A reporter said they might taper it back, and then Jerry Jones was like, "No, he's getting the full load."
Yeah, he is.
Which came off really weird and rich. Like,
You want to put your hands on him, Pervy McGurvey? Jesus, man, could be a kid listening to this show. Darren Waller, knee strained, IT ban, week to week.
Week to week. Yep. And did
anyone see that? I missed that injury.
Missed it.
It was during the Thanksgiving game. It didn't look like anything that big of a deal.
I mean, obviously the IT band runs all the way down the outside of your leg. And
So
it's much better that it's that than a knee ligament.
Exactly. I was worried it was going to be much worse, especially with the limping and everything like that. But it's going to be a week-to-week situation. The hard part is I have a feeling it's going to be like one of those like questionable calls going into the week. And I'm nervous that he's going to be either more of a decoy or only get like a limited amount of snaps. And so it's going to be a tough situation going into playoff season as to how healthy is he. Those always make me a little bit nervous.
Is Zay Jones going to be getting 1 million targets again?
We know Brian Edwards won't. So
He's looking good out there. So you might have to look some different options that might be available.
Foster Moreau, if he's actually out, could be.
He's a direct backup. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way to go. A couple more injuries here before we move on. Jalen Hurts got the foot, says kind of unclear at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen with him, so pay attention. J.D. McKissick, he left the game on a cart because of the neck injury. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard any update on that.
I've heard nothing about that. Obviously, that was just last night, so it's for us anyway. I mean, it's we probably won't hear anything till Wednesday.
They said
or
that
Thursday.
he was seen walking around like celebrating with the team in the locker room afterwards, so that's a good sign.
That's good news.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. All right, let's move on to another part of the show here. Another step here. What?
We forgot AJ Brown went to IR.
Oh, AJ Brown went to IR, and Daniel Jones is going to miss this week with a neck injury.
Potentially.
No, he's already out.
Oh, he's
Announced
been
it,
ruled
yeah.
out? Oh, wow.
Yeah, Glennon's starting.
Mike Glennon's going to start. Neck injury, hurt it in the second series there.
We know who doesn't have a neck injury.
Mike
Mike
Glennon.
Glennon.
Yeah, dude's a brontosaurus.
It's a lot of neck though. He's probably susceptible.
Yeah, more than most.
Yeah, strong gust of wind with
That
that
was
helmet
mean.
on.
That was
Jerk him
mean
the
of
wrong
us.
way.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I don't want to put my hands on him. After Monster starts.
I was about to take a sip of my water. That went down the wrong pipe. Thanks, Rich.
You're welcome. Both Jamar Chase and Najee Harris have slowed down. What kind of production are we looking going forward? Now, I'll start.
Sure.
Because
Go
we were
ahead.
about to say something.
Why don't you hop in, Rich?
Did you just ask yourself a question?
Well, nobody said anything. I'm not going to give you guys dead air again. Listen, if I ask a question and one of you immediately don't start talking, I'm going to talk. Like, I have a very big problem with dead air and even people talking for me not to talk. So, like, it's hard. Like, I can't handle that. So I just got to talk.
Right.
So,
fair.
Matt, what do you think?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't have anything ready, Rich. Dead air is coming if you go to me right
so
now.
for me, I think on Najee Harris, I think he's going to keep on keeping on. He's,
Well, you know Garrett's not going to be quiet on this question.
No, I know he's not. So that's what I'm getting first here.
I'm prepared.
He's the fourth overall. I have him as my fourth best running back for the remainder of the season. That's where I have him, like right there with Eckler, Mixon, and Jonathan Taylor. And we're looking at a guy who's pretty consistent. We're looking at a guy. Between weeks 1 and 3, he was running back, or weeks 1 and 6, he was running back 3. Weeks 7 through 12, same kind of range. I deleted off my sheet where I had him at, but like he's right in that range. He's been pretty consistent.
He's currently on a points per game basis. He's running back 7 currently.
On a points per game basis.
Yes.
So the big thing with him is he's a consistent running back. He's going to get all the carries. He's going to get some passes thrown to him, and he's going to be a running back 1. And whether it's running back 4, running back 7, like I can live with that.
I don't think there's any questions the rest of the year. I think the question is after this year.
I think it'll only get better.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the quarterback come in. Maybe it's Jimmy Garoppolo they bring in. That'd be my guess. But to me, he's a first round pick. They're about to lose Ben Roethlisberger. We don't know the quarterback situation. Pat Freiermuth's coming on too. The offense is going to run through Najee Harris most likely next year. He's going to get his touches. And when it comes to running back, that's all I care about. Like, just give me the touches. That's all I care about. He's going to be this offense throws it a running back and they hand the running back off a ton. They know they got to do something to the offensive line, so look for them to bolster that in the offseason and through the draft. I think I understand you've been pointing out there that you're concerned. I saw your long Twitter thread about you. And you kind of cover that right here as well. But to me, I'm not concerned. We're talking about a young running back, a first-round pick. He's got the pedigree. He's got the team. He's got the scheme. Like, this is everything I crave. And then I'm not going to sit here and debate, like, back and forth whether he finishes running back 6 and then Javonte Williams finishes running back 5 next year, running back 7. Like, those are all too close for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're just picking your favorite guy at that point. To me, he's a massive dynasty asset. He doesn't have an injury history, even go back to Alabama. Sure. He's in a great situation that literally should, of all things, get better next year because Big Ben's got to throw the football. Like he's got to throw the football, even though he's terrible. So if you have a running back in that situation with no guy who's a 3-down running back, again, these guys are so hard to find. 3-down running backs, guys that we even think should be 3-down running backs that catch the ball well. Former wide receivers like Antonio Gibson aren't getting receptions. This last game had the most receptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh Jacobs. These guys don't exist. They don't exist. They're unicorns. And we love Javonte Williams, but he's been a timeshare running back his entire career.
Well, he's a rookie.
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, to say his entire career makes it sound a lot more than like
Michael Carter.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's what I was going back to.
Oh, okay. I was like, I mean, that's like 10 games, 12 games.
And I love him. I think Javonte Williams is in an upper tier of running backs. So too, this is not a Javonte Williams tweet, but like I have no concern about Najee Harris. He's one of the top 6 running backs that I would rather take here in Dynasty. And honestly, when we talked about Christian McCaffrey earlier, when they're both on the board, like you're like, man, this is a guy who's young, no injury history. He's 2 years, going to be 3 years younger than Christian McCaffrey. You know, like you're looking that way. I mean, Najee Harris is flirting with first round Dynasty startup potential.
Sure,
that's where he's at, and it's fine point per game basis of where he's at. But the big thing is I don't expect that to change at all. And if anything, I think he can get more touches. And on top of that, I expect that offensive line to get even better. Like, it can't get that much worse.
It can't get worse, right? So, I mean, here obviously he's coming off his worst game since week 1 this past week. But everything in between now and week 1, it's all in the upper teens to 20s. You know what I mean? So he's done excellent things as a rookie.
Very consistent.
I think, obviously next week is against the Ravens. He might have another hard week, but after that, I would consider him, he's going to be startable all the rest of the season, even this week, obviously against a tough Ravens defense because of his usage, because what you're saying. And I do agree that, obviously next year they're going to be turning a page to whether it's a young quarterback that they draft or it's a guy that they bring in like Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going to need to rely on the running game and the young tight end, both of which they drafted this year, I think, in kind of a response to the fact that they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback the following season. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those are the 2 best friends of a young quarterback or a new quarterback in the system, the running backs, the tight ends. So to me, it just makes too much sense that he's going to remain a huge part of the offense, like you said, Rich. So I agree with you. He is a big time asset going forward. Do I still value Javonte Williams? Do I think Javonte Williams has more upside? I actually do, because I think he's a better running back. He's more efficient with the rushes that he does get. And I'm sure that's exactly where you're going to go next, Garrett.
Sure.
But the volume that Najee is going to get and is getting now is just rare in the NFL nowadays. And so you have to realize that and recognize that. I think that it's going to be that going forward as well. They want to be able to be a tough-nosed team that relies on their defense and runs the heck out of the ball and beats people up physically. And Najee Harris is the type of guy that will get that done. Yeah.
So I do not want to make any argument that it says that Najee Harris is not a good player and not a good fantasy asset, because he absolutely is. My issue is how highly he's regarded, where most people have him, I would think, in running back for dynasty terms as a top 5 guy, where I would be closer to the 8 to 10 range personally. And one of the biggest reasons is, and I put this in the thread, Rich mentioned it before, next season, Ben's gone. Ben's done after this year. There's no, you're watching him play, there's no way he can continue on after this season. But we've seen a lot of these older quarterbacks, especially towards the end of their careers, Roethlisberger, Breeze, Brady, Rivers, all of these kind of guys, heavy targets to the running backs. Heavy targets. There's a high likelihood that somebody not on their roster right now will be the starting quarterback next year, whether that is a free agent, whether that's a rookie. And so the odds of that target share, that amount of targets going down, seems pretty likely. So I did the math. If he were to average out the top 16 running backs in PPR right now, just take the average. He was averaging over 6 targets per game, which is second best among running backs, barely behind DeAndre Swift. If that were to drop down to average, it'd be closer to 4.5 per game. All of these things, it's the same thing with yardage, same thing with catches. If those were to just drop to average as opposed to absolutely elite, we're now looking at running back 13 this year on a points per game basis versus running back 7, which is a pretty big gap. And I think that's the thing that I have the hardest time with is we have somebody that's not very efficient running the football. And we can say the offensive line's going to get better, but we said that last year that it would be better this year. And they're going to have to do something at quarterback. So they're going to have to draft somebody fairly early at quarterback, which means chances are we're looking at a second round offensive lineman if that's who they decide to take. We've seen that with the Rams, with the Seahawks. We keep telling those teams to take offensive linemen. They don't. So I think in a perfect world, yes, you would get a check down quarterback that's a talented player. You would get a good offensive lineman all in there. But I think we're looking at more of a mid to low range RB1 than this high RB1. And so for me, I think I would much rather capitalize on that value now, take other young guys we like, Dobbins, Javonte, whoever, and get stuff on top of it because you absolutely can.
Yeah, I disagree.
I know.
Wholeheartedly. And I think Pittsburgh, the rumor is Pittsburgh's not looking to draft a quarterback this year. They're actually looking to get a veteran. So look for a guy like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo.
But if that happens, they're not improving their offensive line because they're giving up all their draft capital to get those guys.
Well, if they have to trade for those guys,
right.
And you're right on that point. But maybe you're not going to get it up for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he'd thrive there. You mentioned what if they cut back his PPR points? I mean, what if they cut off Christian McCaffrey's hands? Like he's worthless too. I'm not worried about that at all because
it's based on the quarterback though.
It's not based off the quarterback. It's based off the scheme and the system that they run, which is what they run.
Saw the difference in Jameis Winston and Drew Brees just this past year.
Jameis Winston and Drew Brees. That's a completely different team. Well, I'm talking about, it's like they did the same thing when Mason Rudolph was in there when Ben missed time. This team going back of Mike Tomlin's entire coaching career has got the running back involved in the passing game. It's why Le'Veon
But Ben Roethlisberger's been the quarterback the entire time.
No, Mason Rudolph's been the quarterback sometimes, and Duck Hodges has been the quarterback sometimes as well.
And like three
guys,
games.
I think the point is it can work either way. Because we've seen it before. We've seen Phillip Rivers turn Naheem Hines into a PPR gold running back, and then when he's gone, he's not anymore. He's just totally
top running backs who've received the most targets. DeAndre Swift's number 1 is Jared Goff. Najee Harris is 2. Austin Eckler's 3 with Justin Herbert. Fournette's 4. Gaskin with Tua 5. J.D. McKissick 6 with whatever his name is.
I also think those targets come with a purpose because you're schemed for it because you could do it well. So I think you're schemed for that as well. There's a reason Austin Eckler schemed in the passing game because he excels in it. There's a reason Najee Harris is schemed into the passing game because he could do it well. He could run routes. He's got good hands. So I don't think you stop doing it. He does it well. Going back to your argument of, well, he's seventh, and he's seventh overall in points per game on average with his 18.2. Well, he's only 0.4 points behind Cordero Patterson. That's probably not a long-term play there. He's a point behind Joe Mixon, essentially, a little bit more than a point, a little bit more point than Alvin Kamara. When it comes to a dynasty startup, would you rather have Alvin Kamara or Najee Harris? I would take Najee Harris.
I mean,
it's close.
I mean, I think for the long term, you have to look Najee for the dynasty long term value.
Same thing. And another 2 guys ahead of him, besides, so Austin Eckler's averaging 22.1 over his 18.2. Jonathan Taylor 23.7. Obviously, he's a clear choice. And then there's Derrick Henry 24.2. And Derrick Henry and Najee Harris, with those years combined and the major injury, like they're pretty close too here in the usage. So to me, I think Najee, when you said running back 8 in the startup, like I completely disagree. Like I would take him over Nick Chubb, just from a diehard Browns fan. You know what I mean? Just because of the usage, and Kareem Hunt's gonna be there next year. Dalvin Cook, getting a little bit older. I'm out on that age. I'm taking Najee Harris over him. I consider DeAndre Swift ahead of Najee Harris. I would take Jonathan Taylor ahead of Najee Harris. I would consider Austin Eckler ahead of Najee Harris because of his involvement in the passing game, but they're close. Him and Joe Mixon are really close for me. Still Christian McCaffrey, still in that wheelhouse there, but that's about it for me.
First 6 guys.
The first round 5th-year option is really important too.
Exactly. So to me, like it's all of that combined that makes him a huge dynasty asset to me at the running back position. Because again, I just want guys on that first contract that are young. That's what I want. That first contract and young, and he's got the extra year, which gives him a bonus. That, like Jared said, it gives him a bonus to me. So. Again, we're splitting hairs here, Garrett. Like you're saying about 8, I'm saying about 5 or 6.
Sure, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
we're
looking splitting hairs, but like
I think, but that's the difference between somebody that would be buying him and somebody that would be selling him.
And I'm just not looking to sell, unless I get back some like return that I love, like one of those guys I mentioned. Like, are you giving me more? But like, I just don't see in a real world dynasty aspect, unless the guy's a huge, massive Steelers fan.
Sure,
that's going to happen. You know
so
what I mean?
If you were offered, from a contender right now, and you're, more of a rebuild, would you take J.K. Dobbins in a first for Najee Harris?
And I wasn't a contender?
You're not a contender.
So J.K. Dobbins, I would take that deal.
Because I think those are the types of things that I'm looking for if I have Najee Harris as a young running back that I like, that might not offer something to a contender right now, but, I can give up Najee Harris but still stay young at the position.
I can live with that risk. Because, when you give up a guy who I consider a top 6 asset at the running back position in Dynasty, that holds great value. We talked about this via text before. I was like, dude, I think there should just be like a number skewed for like younger running backs where their value, even though you rank them differently, for trade value, they should get bonus points just because there's so few of them and they're so in high demand. Like you'd always get a little bit more. So like it's why I flip them all the time. It's literally why I trade my running backs all the time. So it depends on what I'm getting. Like J.K. Dobbins comes with some risk assessment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Hasn't really played yet in the NFL.
Right.
At a full-time level.
a season where he shared time and then he's been injured.
So like, if you give me him in a first, yeah, because I like that system for J.K. Dobbins. But like, again, when you start talking guys like, go down different. Antonio Gibson in a first, like that's pretty close. You know, to me, like I'd probably do that deal too. But like, there's not many guys out there that like. And that's the thing. Is the guy with Antonio Gibson offering you a first? No, he's not even going to offer the Gibson in the first. You know what I mean? Like he's probably just going to keep Gibson.
It depends. I don't know. Some people don't trust Gibson as much. Some people do.
That's what when you said that, you were like it wasn't a slam dunk in my head. With Gibson and a first for Najee Harris, I think I would keep Najee in that instance.
Yeah, I would keep Najee too.
Yeah, okay.
That's
I thought you were saying you would trade.
No. I said like he used Dobbins in the first. I'm like, yeah, I'd do that.
And you do that.
I would do that.
But Gibson, you're saying in a first you would not.
I'm a little bit more hesitant.
I wouldn't. I don't think.
I was getting offered. Remember that trade last week? Went over on the Nerd Herd episode. Like I was getting offered DJ Moore,
right?
Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette for Najee in the first. And I was like, oh, that's just not enough. Because like these guys, in the right opportunity, in the right window, you can get that crazy haul of like Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, right? Like he got that for Austin Eckler. Maybe I can get Christian McCaffrey. Like if I get Christian McCaffrey plus for Najee Harris, I'm doing that all day. You know what I mean? Like and that's the point difference for me too. Like any running back is sellable. Jonathan Taylor, he's sellable to me. Like I would sell him.
It would take a lot.
But it would take a lot. And here's the thing: receivers, you can always get pretty fair value for the most part. Running backs is the one position in quarterback and superflex where you can literally just grease those cheeks. Just grease them up because I'm coming in. Here we go. All right, let's move on off that category. There's another rookie you want to bring up here, right?
Well, we want to talk about the position as a whole, but we could specifically bring up Mac Jones if we wanted to. But
no, not Mac Jones. We're not talking about that position. We're talking about a receiver. I thought
Jamar Chase, right?
Oh, we talked so long about Najee Harris that I totally forgot we were talking about Jamar Chase.
What are we out of time, Jared?
36 minutes.
Okay, so we gotta get Chase here and then go into ads. Then we'll bump down to here. Yeah.
So Chase over the first 7 weeks, absolute monster. He's slowed down his production lately. What are we looking for long term? Is he closer to the guy he was the first 7 weeks? Closer to the guy that we see right now? Somewhere in between? What are we thinking on Jamar Chase?
I mean, I think he's had a rough few weeks, but I think he is probably closer to the guy that we saw at the earlier portion of the season. He's a rookie. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times when it's not looking as pretty as their ceiling probably is. So he's got so much room to grow as a wide receiver also, which, he has all the talent in the world to get there. So I totally think his ceiling is the first 7 games of the season. Not what we've seen.
I got some info too. One of the benefits of owning the number one dynasty site in the world is you got some good analytic people to give you some information.
There you go.
It's like I'm like Al Michaels with a stat team in my ear in the background. So like Matt mentioned, or you mentioned in the beginning of the year, he was between weeks 1 through 6, he was wide receiver 5. Over the last second half of the season, weeks 7 through 12, he's wide receiver 19. So he's become a mid-range wide receiver 2. I still have him as my number 2 overall dynasty player, just because. I mean, it's him and Tyreek Hill, but I'm taking the youth and I'm taking the combo. And like Matt said, he's a rookie.
Yep.
From our great Cameron Copeland, who's our analytics team, he sends me this. Jamar Chase has averaged 38 receiving yards and a half a touchdown per game over the last 4 games, while he averaged 107.7 yards and 0.86 touchdowns over the first 7 weeks. That 7-week pace was truly unsustainable, but the 38 receiving yards trend certainly will not be the new norm either. Every receiver has down games. While Cincinnati is 27th as a team in total air yards, Jamar Chase is 4th in average depth of target behind only Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, and Tyler Lockett for receivers with 60 or more receptions. With 7.5 targets per game in his rookie season, the lack of team air yards is a useless stat since Chase gets a majority of the deep work. So I think it's just a small little hiccup here for Chase. It's just, and look, his hiccup is wide receiver 19. That's his hiccup.
Sure. Yeah.
His down game is a mid-range wide receiver 2. He's still a massive dynasty asset. Like, I'd have no problem taking this guy number 2 overall in a dynasty startup 1 QB. at all.
Yeah, and I'm much on the same boat as well. I don't think much has changed overall. We expected him to come down, or people should have at least expected him to come down from that. Every week he was scoring a 30+ yard touchdown catch. That's just not going to happen.
It's only a matter of time before defensive coordinators make an adjustment. They don't let you get wide ass open down the field, and they throw a safety over. They roll them over, and all of a sudden you're double covered downfield. You're not making a big play.
I really think the question comes down to, because by no means I think you would be crazy if you thought like, oh, now he's going to suck. He's a bust now after these 4 games and he's not going to be good anymore. It was just a fluke. No, he's still going to be really good. The question is he a top 5 receiver good today?
Oh, yeah.
Or is he more of a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2? Because I don't think anybody's going to go much lower than that.
For me, he's right up there. I mean, he's in there with Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. I could make an argument for him, why he's the number 1 overall receiver, in Dynasty. I mean, these are guys that I absolutely love. So me looking here at some of these guys. Oh, I just lost my place here. Sorry, excuse me. You mentioned this like influx of like young receivers, right? Like, so where does he fall into those lines? Because there's a ton of these guys out here. I mean, look at where we're at right now in the Dynasty landscape. Before we go, I just want to take a quick here on this. I just want to give everybody a realization of you're talking about targets in Dynasty. Like, who do you want to trade for, right? We always mention young wide receivers. I've never seen this much of an influx of young talent at the receiver position in my entire existence of playing Dynasty, which is almost 20 years. Right now, for the second half of the season, because when you talk about rookies, I don't want to even count the first half. But from week 7 through 12, rookies only, week 7 through 12, currently wide receiver 3 overall, Elijah Moore. Currently wide receiver 5 overall, Jalen Waddle. Currently wide receiver 19 overall, Jamar Chase. Currently wide receiver 21 overall, Devontae Smith. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 receivers that are top 21, so top wide receiver 2s. 2 of them are top 5 fantasy receivers in their rookie year. Second year receivers, where do they stand right now? Currently wide receiver 8 overall, again, week 7 through 12, Justin Jefferson. Wide receiver 9, Michael Pittman Jr. Wide receiver 17, Darnell Mooney. Wide receiver 22, Brandon Ayuk. Wide receiver 23, T. Higgins. Wide receiver 27, Van Jefferson. So Van Jefferson's the only receiver who's a second-year receiver, and due to injury, is a wide receiver 3.
And there's other guys that we would expect to be in there, like CeeDee Lamb, and we've had some stuff going on there and different things like that. So there's some other talented players that should normally be there.
I think I missed probably CeeDee Lamb. Let me see where he's
Is that points per game or is that total points?
No, that's where they stand as total receivers. So with buys, everything, where they're currently wide receivers in PPR.
I think he had a buy in. He missed a game too, didn't he?
So
that's why.
Yeah, he's been out. I think he had.
That's right. He missed some games, so that's why he wasn't on my list. So I did miss him. So CeeDee Lamb.
You can include him in there.
So CeeDee Lamb. So
normally would be somewhere in there.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
And he's just
5,
missing, by the way. He's 38.
7, 8, 9, 10. If we swap out Van Jefferson, who's wide receiver 27, with CeeDee Lamb, we have 11 wide receivers that are second year or younger that are top wide receiver 2s or better. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna count Lamb as this too. 5. If we count Lamb this way, we have 5 second-year receivers or younger that are wide receiver 1s.
Yeah.
That are wide receiver 1s. Half of the 12 wide receivers are second year or better. This is where in a startup where you want to invest your draft capital.
Well, and the crazy part is, if we take it one more year out, you get to add Debo, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin.
I saw him, dude.
Wait till next year.
And we have another good class.
I put out a tweet a few days ago that we've never had 3 years in a row where we've had at least 5 first-round wide receivers, and I think this year we finally get that third year.
Dude, you got I mean, look at these guys. If you add even younger, right, and you want to go to that third year, guys are say like 25 and under at the receiver position. You're adding guys in there, like you mentioned, Debo Samuel. You got Deontay Johnson. You got AJ Brown, who's still currently wide receiver 16 after going IR. You got Terry McLaurin on there. DJ Moore, wide receiver 24. There's never been such an influx of
DK
receivers.
Metcalf would normally be in there too if it wasn't all the stuff going on with Russ.
And you mentioned, even DK Metcalf on it.
It's wild.
So to me, like, this is where, like, if I was in a startup today, I would just gobble all these guys up and have a 3 wide receiver core set of guys that are top 24 wide receivers that are under the age of 25, and I would build my entire team around them and dominate for a very long time and fill in those spots at running back and grab guys like Elijah Mitchell way later. And then in the 4th round, I'm grabbing, you know what, even in the 4th round, I'm probably not even grabbing my first running back. I'm probably grabbing the best tight end available, which is going to be an elite one, most likely there in round 4. And then round 5, I'm going to grab my first running back. Round 6, grab my quarterback. Round 7, 8, running back. And then guess what? When I hit round 9, there's still a ton of receivers left. And that's where I get the veterans for value. But I have never seen in my existence of playing fantasy, or more importantly, Dynasty fantasy football, this influx of such young, forget talented, extremely talented players, but more importantly, above all, the hell with talent, fantasy football players.
They're producing,
they're producing, guys. It's what a pleasure to be playing Dynasty right now.
It's wild.
You know what I mean? Like this, it blew my mind seeing how high these guys ranked the second half of the season. And I'm going to see how they finish. But some of these guys didn't play. Like Elijah Moore didn't play early. And that's not even mention guys having even playing time, like Rashad Bateman. Right. You know, we're not mentioning Marquise Brown in his 3rd year. I didn't mention him as a 3rd-year receiver.
Rondell Moore,
Chase Claypool.
You know, there's a lot to be thankful for.
Is this Thanksgiving all over again?
It's a lot to be thankful for.
Deontay Johnson, you didn't mention either.
He did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Snuck him in.
Missed it.
And
Real quick.
Obviously, we're running out of time, so we can't
so much.
We can't get into this. But I will say this, because we're going to talk about this one question. Let's get into our ads, our sponsors here for a minute. But like, I had the complete opposite look at the running back quarterbacks. I was like, damn.
Yes, it's the complete opposite.
And I was like, in Superflex, I was like, dude, all these guys are supposed to be like this young, talented quarterbacks coming in the league. We're like, dude, where are they all going to go? Like, what a mystery. You know what I mean? It's like, I have no idea what's going on. It's like a potpourri bag of quarterbacks.
What kind of potpourri, Rich? A poopery?
Poopery.
Capital O, capital P, capital O, capital T, then lowercase t.
Potpourri it is.
Pottery.
All right.
Oh, I'm
Pottery?
Like, yeah, I'm like that guy in the Ghost movie. Patrick Swayze.
I was gonna say, I couldn't think of his name fast enough. Dang it.
Patrick
Swayze.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Yes,
Come here,
indeed.
Demi. With my arms around you. All right, let's go into our ads.
Smooth transition.
Before that, make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel to catch our video form of the show. Again, we do this. You know, if Joe Rogan can do it, we can do it, right? Like, hey, Rogan,
we're just as good as him.
We're like, hey, Joe Rogan's got Shure microphones. We're gonna buy Shure microphones.
Just wait till we get the stands.
Oh yeah, look at our microphone stands we're using now because we're about to change those out. There's the ones Rogan got too. So. Love you, Rogan. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got unique content coming there. New content dropping on YouTube with prospect film breakdowns. We got our weekly sneaky starts up there, and other new shows and videos coming soon. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Dynasty Nerds, and join our Dynasty Nerds Facebook group. Where, dude, we have over 13,000 members on there to talk Dynasty
that thing
every
just keeps growing.
single.
Do you remember when we made that banner for like
day.
5,000 people?
A year ago?
Yeah, we busted that thing.
Two years ago,
out.
but
We were
still.
like, "Wow, that's out of date." All right.
Yeah. So, dude, and let me tell you this: in that Facebook group where there's over 13,000, it's like 13,500 members. If you mention a redraft question, or if you mention anything whatsoever that's not Dynasty related, that thing gets reported faster
in
than
trouble.
anything. My notification like, dude, report, and I'm like, they're like, 8 people reported this. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, oh, in my redraft league, this guy's hurt, dude, out. So make sure you get in there too.
I was thinking about this the other day. Last season, I really wish I would have known about prediction strike early in the year. I think I learned about it late in the season, but I wish I would have known about it early in the season because I was on the Jonathan Taylor train. Do you remember how bad it looked for like the first 6-8 weeks there?
Horrible.
It was really bad.
He was running into offensive linemen. He just looked
like 36 cents.
Can you imagine if I would have just bought like 100 Jonathan Taylor shares, where they would be right now? I'd retire.
Retired.
Yep.
We'd be talking to a gazillionaire.
That's right.
Taylor
Taylor coin.
They're calling that on the broadcast this week, JTTTD.
That sounds like you could slip up pretty easy.
Yeah. But as much as I wish that I would have gone out and gotten JT stock last year around week 8, you can do that right now with players that you believe in that maybe aren't performing up to expectations, or guys that you think are good and are only going to get better. You can do that at predictionstrike.com. It's just like the stock market. You can buy, sell, trade shares of players just like they were stocks. Best of all, you can go online or you can download the app and sign up now with promo code Dynasty, and you receive a free share of any player you want with your first deposit of $20 or more. That is promo code Dynasty to receive a free share of any player with your first deposit of $20 or more.
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
My license plate.
And it really is.
It really is. Dynasty was taken, so I had to go Dynasty with the Z. So, guys, we mentioned the quarterback. It just looks bad across the board. And with so many quarterbacks even struggling, guys like Russell Wilson not playing well, is there any running backs we think here that we could buy low on? Like
Quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks, I'm going to say who we could buy low on here. I have a couple good names on my list here. I like Taylor Heineke for the Washington football team. I think he's a good, cheap option. It has the potential to be the long-term option for Washington football team. Second half of the season, week 7 through 12, he's quarterback 13 overall. He had a bye week in week 9 too, mind you, but he's quarterback 13 overall. If you go over the last 3 weeks, he's quarterback number 9 overall, giving you quarterback 1 number. So I think in a super flex league or just a regular, in a 1 QB league, I mean, what's Taylor Heineken costing you? Heineken?
He's got to be pretty cheap, man. If you could probably wrangle him off another team for about a 4th round draft pick, I would think.
I'd rather have the Heineken. Somebody's like, hey, I'll give you a Heineken or a 4th. I'm like, give me the Heineken, dude.
Give me the beer.
Unless I just woke up and brushed my teeth.
Ugh.
That'd be bad.
But, so far this season, we've had Mahomes has had really up and down games. Starting to turn the corner, hopefully.
Is he quarterback 1 overall?
He's still fantastic, but
Yeah.
do you remember the narrative like 2 weeks ago?
No, I remember. Here's why I said it. I think like 2 weeks ago the narrative was bad, and I looked at it. And I was like, "Oh, Pat Mahomes is quarterback 1 overall." I'm like, what? Who wrote this narrative? What is this?
This narrative stinks.
Dak Prescott has had a lot of up and down games. Lamar Jackson just came off a 4 interception game. Kyler Murray's been injured for like ever, it feels like. All of these Russell Wilson, you mentioned him.
I think Russell Wilson is the guy that's an easy buy in my book. But go ahead.
No. But I just was throwing that all out. But tell us why, because the hard part is we say sometimes go buy these players, but is there actually a buy window? Or are you still having to pay the same amount you would have had to pay at the beginning of the season?
In a superflex league, we got to do this. We got to talk.
Yes,
superflex
it has to
right?
be superflex.
Right. No, I just think Russell Wilson, I mean, you could say, hey, the age, there's uncertainty about his future, where he's going to be. Those are all the things that I think could drive his price down a little bit. And the fact that he's not playing well right now also. But he rushed back. He's not fully healthy right now. You can tell that he's sailing throws. He looks like Baker Mayfield out there just throwing over guys' heads and all sorts of stuff. The finger is not right. The accuracy's not right. He's not what he's going to be next year. The only reason you buy him, I think, in this season is for next season. You're not going to get, I don't think, any top-notch play out of Russ this year. So you're buying him for next season.
I'm sorry for my distraction. Jared's over here, and we have a league that works like a college football league, and he just got one of my players to flip to his team, and he's bragging, and I knew this was going to happen, and it happened right in the middle
He's
of the podcast.
He's a 5-star recruit. So
he's the number 1 wide receiver prospect, and of course Jared took him.
Gotcha.
Screw you, Jared. Continue.
Sorry, Matt.
No, I lost my train of
I was
thought, guys.
bumping back here.
I lost my train of thought, guys. Russ
You're
Wilson.
talking about Russell Wilson, who's quarterback number 6 overall last year, who's now obviously having a down year.
Right. Yeah. He's down in, I mean, gosh.
Well, in a Superflex league, what are you paying for Russell Wilson?
Right,
What would you? I mean, I guess
Two first is easy for me.
I'm not paying 2 firsts for Russell Wilson.
I think
You
definitely. I'm going 2 firsts. He's 33 years old. What if he ends up in Denver next year?
What if Chris McCaffrey gets his hands cut off?
Why is that?
Why is that a
happening
thing?
again?
Why is that a thing in this show? Do you know something that I don't know
he's been
about
injured
Chris
a lot, but that
McCaffrey's
seems like a
hands?
very severe injury.
Pulling that wishbone apart too hard. No.
Do you know what I mean? Like he'd be going from an offense that,
He goes to Denver.
for all intents and purposes, has hampered him in his growth, and he's still produced there at pretty good numbers.
Denver would be interesting. Pittsburgh would be interesting. Right. If he switches spot with Aaron Rodgers and goes to Green Bay, he'll be interesting. Like, I think he's going to be interesting almost anywhere he goes. And even if he stays put,
he's going to be uninjured Russ Wilson.
If I'm a contender, I'm paying 2 first for Russ, I guess. Because even
a few weeks ago, we were paying 2 for Sam Darnold. We better pay 2 for Russell Wilson.
Don't bring up some old stuff there, Garrett.
Literally one of the all-time worst things we've ever said on the show in 8 years. Literally, I'll not. That makes me sick to my stomach. We even said that. Like, it's just.
I'm seeing ghosts right now, guys. Can we move on?
But it's the same guy who traded Monty Ball straight up for Le'Veon Bell his rookie year. We also traded Eddie Lacy for DeAndre Hopkins. Giggity, giggity, giggity.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, so I get he's worth 2 first for a contender, but at the same time, it's like I feel dirty doing it.
Do you? I feel like that's a safe bet. Like you know exactly what you're going to get.
It's not. You don't know what you're going to get. That's the whole problem. Like, he's a good quarterback, but right now we have no idea where he's going to be next year, and like you have no idea what's going on.
Do we anticipate a situation where it gets significantly worse?
I don't know.
Is there a team that runs the ball more? Is he going?
Is
he going to the Browns?
I mean, Ben Roethlisberger a few years ago had the most of pass attempts, so I think they would utilize him.
True. Word to your daddy. Yeah. So not a bad one. Not a bad one. I mean, I don't hate that one. Let me put it that way. I don't feel.
Here's the one that I would feel worst about. Here we go. This would be. I would be on Team Rich if this happened specifically. Otherwise, I'm on Team Matt. If he went to the New York Giants, then I would be like, yeah, I'm out.
Oh, that hurts my butt.
I'm out.
Yeah, I guess I'd be a little.
Why would anyone? Sorry, why would anyone that had a choice go to the Giants? Give me a break.
But what about this guy? So why pay 2 first for Russell Wilson when you could buy Kirk Cousins for way less?
Oh, I thought you meant for the same price. I was like,
no. I mean, Kirk Cousins is always cheap. Everybody's trying to get rid of him
for sure.
He had his bye week 7, so let's go from week 8 on. Right over the last 5 weeks, Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins. Where do you think he is without looking? What do you think Kirk Cousins is?
Since his bye?
Top 3.
He's quarterback 3 overall.
Yep.
Since week 8 on. So
I had already looked, so I already knew. I'm not as smart as I sound. But he's top 8 overall.
He's top 8 overall. Yeah. So what I'm saying is same age bracket, right? Mm-hmm. Would you rather pay 2 first for Russell Wilson or pay 1 first for Kirk Cousins?
I think if you're a contender, go for the 1 first because.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
you're only
easy.
trading for Russell Wilson
just for this season. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm saying you can trade for Russell Wilson regardless. I think.
No. I'm saying if it's just me this season, I'm fine. 1 first, Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and staying out of that 23 class and keeping my first. You know what I mean? That's the problem.
I think you can trade for Russell Wilson whether you're a contender or not.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that.
Yes, I wouldn't
because he's young enough that you're going to get 5 more years out of him easy.
He's worth 2 first in a super flex. I'm not arguing that. Okay. Just not a player that I would feel comfortable paying 2 first for.
So the interesting thing is we've seen a lot of the top guys struggle this year, more so than we've seen in past years. We have one of the top guys missing in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But then on top of it, all of the rookies, with the exception of potentially Mac Jones, have not performed well. And even a lot of the other young guys that we thought could take a step forward haven't done well. I mean, is this the worst quarterback landscape we've seen in the past 5 years, 8 years?
It looks like a dirty bird. I mean, there's so much mystery. There's been such an influx of youth as well. We've got so many young quarterbacks, and besides Justin Herbert and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, essentially.
Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
We have about 6 or 7 that we feel good about.
I know, but and that sounds like a lot, but in Superflex, it's not a lot.
Well, you need a minimum of 24 for everyone to have the starters they need.
Listen, we were just talking about last week, Jalen Hurts. Are we reversing course after this crappy past week and the injury to the ankle that now he doesn't have a future? Are we not including him as a young quarterback that we can?
I don't think much has changed for me after this week. It was one weird week. I'm not changing too much on it.
I still feel the same about him. And there's other guys. Matt Stafford.
But I think I don't. Was it an omission, or do you guys not want to include him because we don't? Really
I don't
know.
think he's super. He's not the safest guy ever, for sure. I mean, even somebody that's played decent at times, Tua isn't safe. Baker hasn't played well. He's not safe anymore.
Tua 80% in the last 2 games, and they're on a 4-game winning streak.
But would you feel safe with Tua? That's the tough part. Like, I like Tua. I have him on several rosters.
I'm starting to feel safe.
I'm starting to feel pretty safe with Tua too.
I feel a lot better too.
I have Tua in Superflex. I have him in 1 QB as my second quarterback, and I'm starting to feel safe.
If everything goes away though,
earlier in the
season, Deshaun Watson.
Earlier in the season,
they're out on Watson now. Tua's look too good.
Earlier in the season, just like probably the Miami Dolphins, I was looking for other options at quarterback in both of those scenarios. In the 1 QB league as my backup and in Superflex as a potential starter. But as the season has gone on, and now that he's back from injury and he's looking this good, I'm starting to not. And I'm guessing there's going to be a point where they're starting to not also. They're on a 4-game winning streak.
I agree, but that was just to the point of like, there are so many guys that are not lock solid safe. Like even Ryan Tannehill at the beginning of the year, we would have said he was lock solid safe.
Yeah.
Not safe.
He's looked terrible.
Trevor Lawrence, one of the greatest prospects to come into the league in forever that we thought was dynasty gold that you'd pay $1 million first for. He started every game. He's currently quarterback number 22 overall behind Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones, and Teddy B. Mac Jones, the highest fantasy rookie quarterback on the year with 17. And I'm with Matt. Like, I would almost take, I think besides Trevor Lawrence, I would take Tua over every rookie this year. Easy.
I would. Yep.
So that's an easy pick for me.
Yep.
And he's starting to look better and better and better.
He's locked in with Jalen Waddle. You're right. And you got to remember, he came with that devastating injury last year coming to the league, and he was banged up going in this year into the league. So he's just now playing healthy.
Yeah, I had him on several buy shows that we did like in the offseason and preseason and all that kind of stuff. I love him. The only caveat I will say, though, is the schedule got really, really easy these past few weeks. He has not had a difficult schedule, and he doesn't for most of the rest of the season. So I'm hoping it's not fool's gold. That's my only slight concern.
You're right.
And those are all good points. Yep.
So, all right, let's end the show here with a couple guys that, Garrett, you want to ask us about. Are we on or off? We'll have to go. Where are we at, Jared, for time?
We're just over an hour.
All right, we'll do this real quick. We won't go into deep analysis on this, but we have the trust-o-meter, and give me 1 to 10 on how much you trust putting this guy into your starting lineup for the playoffs. All right. So 10 being absolute trust. Didn't even have to think about it.
Forget it.
Why was he ever not in my lineup?
Right.
1 being like he wouldn't touch my lineup with a 10-foot pole.
All right. Yep.
Miles Sanders. He has the 21st best strength of schedule for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I am in Scott Fishbowl, but I feel like a 5.
3.
Yeah.
1.
I don't like the usage they give to Boston Scott, definitely in the red zone.
Yeah, the red zone is what, I mean, if Miles Sanders isn't catching a bunch of passes, which he's not. He better be scoring touchdowns, which he's not even getting the looks. They're giving that stuff to Boston Scott.
Yeah. Running back 36 this week.
Yeah, it's very,
he scored 7 points the previous week.
Yep.
Terrible. Yeah, I feel like a 5.
You're at a 5. Matt, you said 3?
3.
But what sucks is like he's one of those guys, because he is a starter. Like when you own him, you put him in your lineup every week because you have no choice.
At this point, with all of the injuries that are happening, a lot of people are forced and they have no choice. But I feel like a 3.
Okay.
Doing it.
Trust-wise.
Yep.
All right. Javonte Williams. We know that he has that timeshare. He does have the 5th easiest strength of schedule rest of the season.
Yeah, I feel about a 5, 6.
Okay.
Only because he's a hardcore running back split. I mean, I know that he's the 5th best rest of the season, but that just spells more goodness for Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon as well.
Gordon's
Absolutely.
a running back 1. Yep. Weeks 1 through 6 on the season, Melvin Gordon was running back 18. Javonte Williams was running back 35. Weeks 7 through 12, the second half, Melvin Gordon's running back 21. And Javonte Williams is running back 26. So he's taking a big step up.
Closing.
And Melvin's only taking a mild step back. And he's looked good. Melvin Gordon's looked good.
He has. He's played well.
I'll tell you what. You're looking for. He's been this way, honestly, forever. I mean, I remember 2 years saying this about Melvin Gordon. Like, he's one of the best values at running back in Dynasty. People were trading for a first forever. He's still a really good value now. If they get rid of Melvin Gordon after the season, which they will because of his price tag, and roll with Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon's going to get a job somewhere, and he'll be the main running back. Maybe it's the Miami Dolphins with Tua and Waddle in the up-and-coming offense. He will be on the offense. He's a good value. He's not that old yet. He's 27, so he still holds value. So I think Javonte Williams is right in the middle of the road because it's a true timeshare situation, and that's why.
And as much as I love Javonte, he is right in the middle for me. He's right around a 5, and it's for the same exact reason. I have been forced due to injury to start him. I know that he's capable of giving me 20 points, but he's also capable of giving me like 6.
Yep.
So we'll just see kind of where he lands week to week, but I'm not like jumping for joy that I'm putting him in my lineup.
Rashad Bateman. He has the 21st most difficult strength of schedule rest of the season.
One.
Yeah.
So you are avoiding putting him in your lineup basically
100%.
at all costs.
I'm not starting Rashad Bateman with that situation with that quarterback.
I mean, honestly, in the few games that I've seen him, he looks like a good possession wide receiver in an offense that doesn't want to throw the ball an awful lot. I don't know what you want to do with that. That's what he looks like to me.
And Marquise Brown's the number one look for Lamar Jackson right now. And honestly, it could be
I was going to say
Andrews,
it's Mark Andrews and then Marquise Brown.
and then Bateman.
On
a team you mentioned that doesn't throw the ball a ton. It's just not going to. And then when they do throw the ball, he throws 4 interceptions and still wins the game.
But Bateman's a move the chains type of guy. You know what I mean? He's not. They're not getting him down the field. He's catching these little underneath routes. What is he going to get you? 3 catches for 40 yards, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
1.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver 3 at best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is for one QB. Taylor Heineke. We talked about how well he's been playing lately, but he does have a difficult strength of schedule rest of the way, 29th most difficult.
I feel like a solid 8.5 here.
Okay, so you feel pretty good about him
Curtis
being a top 12
just
kind
came
of guy.
back. Logan Thomas just came back. Even more weapons for him. Running game looked good, so they get some play action going out there. That's going to help. It's a strong suit in the NFL right now. So I feel really good about Taylor Heineke. If I had to start him over like however else is playing so bad, I'm getting running back. I said over the last 3 weeks, he's quarterback 9.
Yeah.
So if I get even from the second half, he's quarterback 13 with his bye. So you're getting low end quarterback 1 numbers.
Chances are, if you had maybe drafted Ryan Tannehill as your top quarterback for this year, you'd be playing him over Ryan Tannehill.
I play 100% be playing over Ryan Tannehill. I would be starting him over a lot of quarterbacks at this point. In a 1 QB league, is my other roster strong enough? If you're getting even low end quarterback 1 numbers, that's good enough.
Sure. What about you?
I'm a little bit less enthusiastic. I'm 6.5. How about that?
Okay.
On him.
8, not 8.5. Sorry.
I'm 6.5. I just, for him, I always feel like there's that sneaky like 3 turnover game coming or something like that because he's capable of it.
Sure.
I mean, but it's not like he's as capable of it like as Ryan Fitzpatrick where he'll do it in bunches. But I feel like that could always be an outcome with him.
Damian Harris, a similar situation to Javonte where he's splitting time, but he looked really good early on in the season and pretty easy schedule, 3rd easiest for the rest of the season. Where are we at on Damian Harris?
I'm a solid 7 the rest of the season. He's a split time with Ramondre, but they run the ball more. He's going to get a little more opportunity out there. Looks pretty good on the year. Like I said, the strength of schedule is really nice for him. So, and he's the first one to get carries. So he's the Melvin Gordon of the offense, essentially. So
Yep.
I feel better about him
than Ramondre, which might be like a 3 or 4.
Yeah, that might be in the same. He's honestly, I feel a little less than Javonte because he's less talented, but like he might actually get a little bit more touches than Javonte too, though.
Depends on the week.
So yeah.
And since it depends on the week, I feel like about a 5 also with Damon Williams. I don't feel great about either one of those guys because you never know. I guess the wrinkle that week that Bill's going to come up with or whatnot, just to kind of screw with everyone's brain. Just been screwed by that guy so much. So
let's go over to the formerly Mr. Reliable Jarvis Landry. He has the 23rd most difficult schedule rest of the season. How do we feel about Jarvis Landry?
About a 6.
Okay.
that's way higher than me.
The reason I know, but I think the reason to poop on is because the Browns are playing so bad. But even we saw this last game, he was heavily involved. He's number 1 target. They got no other really good options there in the passing game. I know they got Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he's got a better rapport with Jarvis. And then they're constantly fighting to stay in games. They have a real tough schedule with teams that have to compete, so they're going to throw the football, and they're going to find ways to get the ball in Jarvis's hand. He's one of their best weapons he's their best weapon in the passing game. So I think worst case, Jarvis is at least giving you wide receiver 3 numbers. So that's why he's about a 6 because I could start him on a weekly basis.
I actually, thinking back on it, he probably is a 6. He has scored over, double-digit points, over 14 points these past 2 weeks without Odell there.
That's massive. If
He's
giving me that,
it's a big change.
If he gives me 14 points per game, he's a 9.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I love that. So
it's a big change over what he was earlier in the year.
Last but certainly not least, Mike Williams. We had the beginning of the year that was beautiful, and the rest has been a little bit tough. But he's got a pretty easy schedule, 6th easiest. Where are we at with Mike Williams for your playoff team?
See, I don't. It's weird that he has a 6th best, easiest schedule. I'm looking at Fantasy Pro strength of schedule from our analytics team here. Play the Bengals. They're supposed to be 7th best against the wide receivers. Giants are 16th. Chiefs are 10th. Texans are 21st. And then week 17, the Broncos are 13th.
So 6 is easy side.
Okay, so that's where we're at. Here's what I got. I'm just going to read this from Cameron Copeland as well from our analytics team. He sent this over. He's worried about Mike Williams.
Okay.
So I'm putting my lineup every single week. But he said Cameron Copeland, our analytics guy, is a little worried. Here's what he says. First 6 games leading up to the bye, 9.3 targets, 83 yards, and 1 touchdown per game. His last 5 games since the bye, 6 targets per game, so 3.3 less, 49.2 yards per game, so almost 33 yards per game less, and 0.2 touchdowns per game less. He's only surpassed 39 yards twice in the last 6 games with 1 total touchdown in that span. His air yards have dropped from 305 per game before the bye to 247 per game after the bye. Herbert was throwing 6.67 deep passes over 15 yards per game before the bye, but only 5.2 after the bye. That may seem like a small drop-off, but it is a 22% decrease and nearly 1.5 fewer chances at big plays per game. You've been losing more often than not if you have started him every single week since his huge performances early in the season. But now he's simply no more than a streaming option. His schedule the rest of the season is not horrific, but is also not good for a streaming option. That's what he says about Mike Williams. Right. So he's got a small downtick in his targets.
And I'd like to kind of, I think, not amend what he's saying, but I think move the date of the change, because they had the bye week in week 7, but they played the Browns in week 5 and he injured himself in that game. So week 6 even he had a bad week, only five targets, 2 receptions and 27 yards. That was the week before the bye. So really it was that Browns game in week 5 where he injured himself, and he kind of hasn't been the same since. It was a knee injury. Mm-hmm. He's starting to see his targets go back up. I mean, it was 5, then the bye, 5, 6. This past week was 8. So he is at least trending in the right direction. It hasn't been, what it was obviously earlier in the year where he was getting 12, 10, 9, 16 in the Browns game. I obviously I am a Mike Williams truther. Everyone knows it. Right. And I still don't feel probably more than a 6.5 putting him in my lineup right now. And it's because the knee injury in my opinion, and he just kind of hasn't been the same since then. So we'll see, man. I hope he gets right and gets back to where he was earlier in the season, but that's me hoping as a fan that he does that. That's me using my heart, not my head. Because if I was just using my head, I'd probably have him maybe even a little bit lower than that.
All right, that's it. So guys, again, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, another show. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel like we mentioned earlier. Check out the podcast. Check out the Nerd Herd. Well, you're checking out the podcast now. Check out everything we got to offer. GM, all that kind of fun stuff. So
Film Room
coming up.
Almost that time.
We're about to put the rookies in the mock draft tool. So if you haven't checked that out, you haven't downloaded it yet. If you don't know, we have it. We have an app on your app store. It's the Dynasty Nerds app. Right now, it's a mock draft tool. We'll eventually be adding on to that. The Dynasty GM will be on that tool as well. But right now, it's a mock draft tool to do your startups. But we will be changing that to not changing, but adding the rookies here to do rookie mock drafts very, very, very soon.
And I cannot wait for that.
Next on the list.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. See you next week.
Adios.